My
here.
husband got her here, actually.
Oh, that's kind.
I met him at a workshop, I mean, that's how.
Glad you clarified.
Right.
I met him at a workshop.
Same workshop. That wasn't the same.
She's a licensed clinical social worker, and she has been doing that for over 30 years. She has a private practice now over on Chester Street, and she has headed up the Dare to Dream program for how many years now?
Well, so this is my sixth and
Year.
final year, yes.
Yeah. So with all that, I'm going to hand the program over to you two. Take it away.
Okay. Well, I just want to say a little bit more about JoEllen.
Oh, dear God.
Well, so JoEllen was probably my first friend that I made when I moved here to from Philadelphia. And I just remember us sitting up in my house in Browntown and talking about goals, and she said that she wanted to create a woman's space. So that was, and that was, and I'm not sure how many, a couple years later, you and Judy Bowie started the Resource Center. But somewhere in there too, JoEllen said, well, let's do a workshop on dream maps. And I don't know if you know what a dream map is, but it's, basically you take a big piece of cardboard and you put images that could be from newspapers or magazines or words or colors, and just like, what are your dreams? What do you want to manifest, so to speak, in your life? It's a little woo-woo-y, but it works actually. And I guess maybe you put that up on the board, and maybe with some symbols that have meaning to you. So anyway, JoEllen and I did that workshop, but you mainly led it. So I don't know, so somewhere down the road too, then this Dare to Dream program started. So I just had to say that because I'm part of it.
Because this is about dreaming today, really.
It's about dreaming,
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the points, one of the reasons we wanted to have this today is because we're debuting our new video that we had made by the wonderful Miranda Pictures. If any of you have gone to the local movie theaters, they do these fun spots, and they do beautiful work, I think. So we were really lucky to work with them this year and create this. It's only 4 minutes long, but we love it, and I hope you do too. So we're debuting that today. So the theme today is dreaming, and I thought I'd start out with talking a little bit about how the whole Dare to Dream grant came up. Well, and as usual, it's about one woman's story. I think that's always where the inspiration comes from. You meet a woman, you hear her story, and you get inspired. And we'd started the Women's Resource Center. Shouldn't have drank milk, I'm sorry. My latte there. And it was wonderful. I mean, I was working at the Blue Ridge Arts Council, where I was volunteering, and this gal was working there, and she had this horrendous story. She had just finished this horrible dessert. I haven't had my lunch yet. Divorce. Another D word. Really, it's only coffee. She'd gone through this terrible divorce. Her daughter, who was 12 years old at the time, had horrible diabetes and was looking at a kidney transplant. And she was, struggling financially. And she'd gotten a degree in art. And she found this thing that was about studying art in Venice for the summer. And I just remember her coming in with this flyer and saying, oh, I wish I could go. I wish I could afford to do something like this. It would change my life. And I remember thinking at the time, I so wish that I could help her go. So it was out of her story that this idea came about. What about women who were just out in the world? After women finish high school, there's a lot of scholarships and things that high school kids can have access to. But once a woman is out and perhaps she's gotten married or had children or just gone back to work, there's not much out there in terms of being able to support women financially. So that's where the Dare to Dream grant started. It's like how to support women once they're out of school, once they've sort of cut the ties with organizations that do traditionally support them. Of course, churches, there's a lot of emotional support, but not in terms of financial support. So that's how we started. And it was a very humble beginning. I think our first grant was for $200, and I think we all went and dug into our pockets and all contributed. And it was a 41-year-old woman who'd gone back to school at North Fairfax, and she was in computer science. And she had some old clunky computer, and she wanted to upgrade her computer. So that's what our very first Dare to Dream grant was. And what was funny about it, she was wheelchair bound at the time. We never met her. She couldn't come to the breakfast. And one of the reasons she was wheelchair bound was she was tremendously overweight, and her legs no longer supported her very well. Years later, I don't know, I'm going to guess, 10, 12 years later, I was down getting them, waiting to get x-rayed about something, and there was this woman there, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you JoEllen?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You don't remember me, but I'm Paula Williams," was her name, and she said, "I got your first Dare to Dream grant." And here was this woman, a normal-looking woman, walking in and out with her son, and she said, I said, "You look incredible. What happened?" She said, "Well, I used that computer to look for a gastric bypass surgery." And she had lost so much weight that she didn't have to be wheelchair bound anymore, and she was glowing. So it's sort of like you never know, throw a stone into the puddle and where do the ripples go. So that was our very first one. So we started out very humbly, and I think the next year, once again, this Dare to Dream grant has been supported totally by our membership and generous donors in the beginning. We never did fundraising. We were kind of a group of gals who didn't want to fundraise. So we just, went into our own pockets and talked to people who could help us. And so the second year, we gave two $500 ones. And the third year, we gave two $500 ones. And it kind of went like that up until 2003, when this friend of mine, at the time, she was the director of of the United Way, and she, Linda Taylor, probably a lot of you know Linda Taylor, and they didn't have a formal allocation process that they developed later, but she came and she said, "JoEllen, I'll give you guys $2,500 if you can find a match." And so as women do, we all sat around, and Mary Ellen South, who was a wonderful member of the organization at the time, said, "Well, let me talk to somebody." So she went and sat down across a table with coffee with a woman who was a neighbor friend of hers, Beatrice von Gontard, of the Anheuser-Busch family, and she matched it, $2,500. So all of a sudden, we had $5,000 that we could give away. So we did that for a number of years. Beatrice left us in 2011. I mean, she's still here, but she put her money to national organizations. So we had this downfall then, but then, up and down to the economy and all of that. But it's kept going, and I think what is fabulous is this happened, and I know Barbara's mentioned it at some of these other wind breakfasts, is we got a scholarship, and I'll talk more about that later, an endowed scholarship, which sort of got us into the mind of endowments are wonderful, working with the Community Foundation over in Winchester. And then we had another one just this year, we got from a wonderful donor, we got the Dare to Dream endowment started by the Women's Resource Center. And then I'm very happy to announce that my husband and I endowed and created another endowment. So we now have four.
Well, we have three,
That's right.
but we have $4,000.
$4,000 that are endowed every year, guaranteed for our grants. So that's kind of where we've gone from to here. And we'll tell you more about all that. So that's been fabulous.
Well, and again, personal story, how I became involved with the Resource Center. At some point, I decided I needed to get involved with the community, and I had always been a member of the Resource Center, and of course, being friends with JoEllen. And I guess I slowly, stuck my foot in, my toe in, and I worked at the yard sale, and I went to a few events, and of course, wonderful women. And I mean, I've always been, I would say, like a woman-oriented advocate. So I thought, well, of course, this would be perfect for me. So I think it was 2011 that I started coming to meetings, and I wasn't officially on the board, but somehow I guess the idea was introduced that I could perhaps work with the Dare to Dream program. And I thought, well, being a social worker, and a therapist, I'm a mental health therapist, so it's really wonderful to work with people and their depression, their anxiety, or their adjustment issues. But I thought, well, it would be really great to be able to be involved in something that would be concrete, like actually helping a woman achieve her dream, with a grant, tuition, or if they had a project, actually, like there would be money that they could get for it. And so again, a concrete way of doing something. So that again just made perfect sense. So one of the things about the Resource Center is that it is a great place to be mentored. And I feel as a board member, I have been mentored over the years. And one of the first ways that I was mentored was I got involved in the Dare to Dream process while Betty Tyson, Pat Millar were the chairs of the Dare to Dream program. And I just recently learned, I don't know, I guess it was all kind of fuzzy in my head, but I just recently learned that Jean Barbour was the first Dare to Dream chair, and then you and Pat were the next cycle, and then I've been the third cycle. So I don't know, that just means something to me. I mean, it's just a sense of history. So should I talk about the process, or try to think now?
Sure, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So just basically how the Dare to Dream process works is well, again, it's, what it's about is just trying to help women move their lives forward, and if they have a dream, to be able to help support that. And again, I'm always amazed by the diversity of dreams that women have. I mean, so it's not just, a lot of women go back and they want to continue their education, or they might want to get their a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, which is really nice, because $1,000 can actually help a woman get a certificate that she can actually then go into the health field. So it really, I mean, it's a very thin line. It makes a big difference to, in a woman's life. But again, we've had artists apply, and, for equipment. We have given out computers. We have, there have been a lot of service-oriented, to the community, service-oriented projects, like the dog park. I always like to talk about the dog park.
Nonprofits, right?
And nonprofits, nonprofits. You're going to see in our video that two of the women, that's what they have ended up doing. And anything else?
Art, creative project,
right? Classes that they've taken. So it's a wide variety, and I always say it's really about the dream. I mean, income becomes part of it, but it's really more about the dream, even more than I think what their income issue is. So the process is that somewhere November 1st, let's say, we start, the committee gets together. We have 5 or 6 people on the committee, and we come up with flyers, and we start putting them around town. That's one of the things that we do. And then we try to, and at the library, we put the flyers up along with the Dare to Dream description and application. So that's what, if anybody wants to look at those. And then whatever other sources of publicity. So it could be the Ministerial Association. It could be we put them in the schools. We put them in the hospital. There have been a number of women who we asked them, where did you read about our grant? I saw it in the elevator at the War Memorial Hospital. So, I mean, it's amazing. Like that one year, we had like 3 women. So you just never know.
And of course, Lord Fairfax.
And Lord Fairfax. Right.
Tremendous,
right?
Yeah.
Lord Fairfax. And we got a lot of people this year from Lord Fairfax Supply. Yeah, that was really great. And then we've started now really using media a lot more in the local newspapers and the radio station that we're on, and anyway, the town website. So it just is, each year it just, continues to grow and grow. So basically we put out the call for the applications, and then 2.5 months later, we gather them. This year we had something like 30 applications, which was a really good number. The committee reviews them, and then we we sit down and we decide on the finalists, which again partly becomes part of what the merit of the project is, and along with, I would say, well, how much money we have for that particular year. And then we interview the finalists and we clarify any questions we have. We also try to give them resources that would be helpful to them. So it really truly is a women's resource center. I mean, like this year, one of the interviews, it was just terrific how a couple of the women, Susie and Marlene, they were just throwing around these ideas about how to help this woman who has a landscaping and lawn maintenance program. And it was so terrific. I enjoyed being just witnessing that. So then once we decide, after the interviews, we decide on who we are going to award the grants to, and again, based on, the amount of money that we have and also the merit of the projects that we have. And then we send out letters to them, and then we have our big breakfast, which is tomorrow, of course, the Dare to Dream breakfast, where we get to introduce, like sort of like I consider it to be like our Academy Awards. We get to introduce our stars. Our stars. Yeah. So I mean, it's a really beautiful event if you can make it. So, anything else about that?
I just want to kind of add to your, what happens in the interview process, and Susie can add to this. So much mentoring goes on within the interview process, like she was talking about, this interaction back and forth. And it's surprising to me how difficult it has been in a way to give money away. It's surprising. You would think that we'd have more applications than we knew what to do with. But, it takes a certain amount of chutzpah to get online. And a lot of the people, of course, the women who are applying for these, some of them need a computer. So, although we do have hard copies around town, but it's been a really interesting process to go through. And one of the things I also want to emphasize is these grants are not for, every year we get a few grants that are like, I want to pay my rent or to pay off my debts, school debts or something. That's not what they're for. It's really about taking the next step forward. Well, I just wanted to go into the Elaine Bromfield grant a little bit, or the scholarship. We have the Dare to Dream grants, and then after they were started, then this scholarship program. Elaine Bromfield was this amazing woman. She was one of the founding members of the Women's Resource Center. Any of you who were lucky enough to know her, she was just dedicated to women from the get-go. She and her husband, Ted Bromfield, ran the Warren Sentinel for years. And she had a little column that was advice for women. I mean, it wasn't just like, she never put recipes or anything. It was about really how to inspire women and how to move forward. She was always an empowering woman. She worked for years to try to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed here in the state of Virginia, without any luck, unfortunately. But she was so happy when we started the Dare to Dream grant and when we started the Women's Resource Center. She passed away, unfortunately. And in 2011, her daughter contacted us and said that her family wanted to start an endowed scholarship in Elaine's name. And she wanted the Women's Resource Center to run it. So that's how we started with our first endowed scholarship. They contributed $10,000. And I'm happy to say that because of this endowment that we've been working with, the Community Foundation, they invest the money. You probably all know how endowments work. And it's now up to $46,000. And a lot of that growth has just been from the investment growth. We've also had a couple of wonderful donors who have given in her name as well. So that has like quadrupled, which is pretty magnificent. So we start with a sum, but they keep growing, hopefully, in the years to come. So that's how that scholarship. So we give away the Elaine Bromfield Memorial Scholarship every year as well.
And that comes out of the pool of these grants that we advertise.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that for education?
That is specifically for education. Right. She was a great proponent of education for women, as we all are too. So that was specifically for education.
And not to give anything away, but the woman who's getting it this year is just so deserving of it. She's just, you'll have to pay special attention to her. You're going to hear about her later on.
Yeah, she's a remarkable woman.
She's a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
Well, the other piece it will not be on the video, but there's another ripple effect, which is at some point, there was the Kim South Girl Grant that was started, and that Mary Ellen South, who I really didn't know Mary Ellen South, but she was on the board, or?
She was on her way out when you were coming.
When I was coming in, right. So she started, she wanted to do a girl grant in honor of her daughter, Kim South. And so we have that as well. Again, not part of this pool, but what we do is these are for girls who are in middle school, Warren County Middle School. And if there's a girl who maybe, there's like, it's like a way to help a young woman who she's got a curiosity about something, or she's good at writing, or she's interested in the arts. So it's a way that we can get, it's a program that we can help, introduce them, or introduce them to the world of, the things that they're interested in. So that's a separate, a whole separate grant process, but that has become part of what we do as well. So.
And we consider the grant program sort of the stars in our crown, if you will.
I just wanted to say, one of the years that I was working for the Front Royal Women's Resource Center, the Girl Grant went to 4 or 5 girls who wanted to go to 4-H summer camp, and it was just so precious.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah. And we also did, actually, it was interesting because when I first came on, doing the Dare to Dream grant, we did the Wings to Empowerment, which was actually, again, a program for girls in the middle school, and that was, again, to help them. It was like a running program.
Yeah.
It was just a way to help boost self-esteem and give them a place, just to have a group that they can relate to. So again, we're just trying to reach women, young women in our community in many different ways, and we do.
Right. I think there were 75 girls in that. Wings for
That's
Empowerment,
right, yeah.
So
75.
really, one grant touched a lot of lives.
Right.
And we gave it to them 2 years, actually, until she quit to become a real estate agent.
So, give you some statistics about the Dare to Dream in Elaine Bromfield. So, as of this year, 2017, let me first say this. We have given 7 Dare to Dream grants this year, and that is for a total of $6,900. And then the one Elaine Bromfield Memorial Scholarship, which again is $1,000. So this year, we are able to give out a total of $7,900. But in total, since 1999, right, we have given out 109 Dare to Dream grants, which equals over $80,000. And then this year will be our 6th Elaine Bromfield Memorial Scholarship, so that's $6,000, again, for a total of $86,634. Wow. So it's, the ripple effect is really, been amazing.
One of the things we're looking at too is trying to give more than $1,000 and start trying to increase the amount, because $1,000, these days, it goes pretty quickly. So it'd be, we're hoping to get up to, a couple thousand at least and keep growing that part, so.
And also, I just want to say too, though, it's been interesting that, there are these grants, but there's, I've been witness to how many of the women on the committee and the board in general will also help women in other ways that are not even, they're not the grantees, but there have been women, I remember one year a woman needed some dental work and one of the board members paid for that. We gave, I guess someone had an extra printer and we gave somebody who needed that. There was a young woman who started a flower business, and so we have somebody that is, one of our members has a gardening business, so she has mentored her. I'm trying to think. It's just been, again, there's all these sort of, non-financial ways. And the other thing is, and we have heard from several women, that for them, one of the biggest parts was that somebody believed in them. So that is really, again, I think can't underestimate how much that makes a difference.
More than the money, even.
Yeah, yes.
To have a group of women provide behind you going,
Yeah,
go ahead. do it."
support, yeah, support
Yeah.
in whatever way, so.
Well, shall we?
Yeah, so that's what we're,
Shall
we're
we?
for the video. Yeah, ready?
That was our introduction.
That was our dream, right, this is our dream to have a video, so.